The sanctimonious Twitter mass movement has gone insane. It's always been insane. But for it to have so much sanctimonious self-importance and sense of superiority to chase a woman with far more social clout and social standing, with 13 million plus followers on Twitter off of its platform, represents, I think, the theoretical underpinnings of a mass movement. And a mass movement not in a positive sense, but in a sense of where I think we are going, especially with the internet being such a place of anarchy. Hey, for over 10 years, you guys have been my world. I honestly owe so much to this world we have created here. I truly consider so many of you my actual friends, but it's time for me to say goodbye. This no longer serves me as positively as it serves me negatively, and I think that's the right time to call something. My life goal is to make people happy. The pain I feel when I don't is too much for me. I've always been portrayed as the strong clapback girl, but I'm just not. This, I think, relates very well to what a political theorist called Hannah Arendt said when she was analysing totalitarianism. I am in no way saying that Twitter represents or has totalitarian individuals on its platform, but there are definitely whispers, I would say, of some of the characteristics that are quite totalitarian in nature. And I think this has to do with this movement specifically. Movements thrive on destroying realities, and they alternatively create their own little realities, their own little world, because the real world out there and all of its problems and all of its inaccessibilities are just that, inaccessible or seemingly inaccessible. So they go on Twitter, on these social media platforms where they can come together and effectively establish this sanctimonious groupthink, as they've done on Twitter, which chases away individuals who do not conform to their standards. And their standards are things that they would never say in the real world. That's why they have this reality in which they can say these things. And they feel good about it afterwards. It gives them a sense of purpose and meaning, because in the real world, they would not have access to somebody like Chrissy Teigen. The problem with modern societies right now, especially on social media, is that there has to be a target. Within any community, there has to be something that holds a community or a movement together. This movement is held together by targeting or creating a boundary between itself, its sanctimony, and the rich. The rich, I don't mean quite generally, I mean the rich in terms of those who are seen as embodying privilege, broadly speaking. You could say white people, white privilege, what have you, straight privilege. But in this case, it's the rich insofar as we could say that Chrissy Teigen is a member of the quote-unquote 1%. To try and somehow express the grievances which you feel about your social reality through a medium which creates a reality that is completely artificial. It just doesn't work. It creates little tribes. I don't like using that word, but let's just say it creates little movements, little movements within the bigger movement. So in her book, The Origins of Totalitarianism, Hannah Arendt outlines what she believed to be the characteristics of not just totalitarian states like Nazi Germany, but also characteristics that you can see in any society, especially in democracies. And I think Twitter is the example par excellence of what she was saying. Movements work to create alternate realities that offer adherents a stable and empowering place in the world. Being self-righteous and allegedly sticking up for the less fortunate via calling out those who are seemingly or truly out of touch gives those doing the calling out more of a stable, empowering identity in the world. That's how I interpreted it. And I think this is clear on things such as when Chrissy Teigen wrote about her experience when her and John Legend went to a restaurant and accidentally bought a bottle of wine for $13,000. I think the problem with a platform like Twitter, a problem with Twitter being a place in which people can connect. Social media, this notion of connecting is just so false because social media is not real. It's not a reality. It is completely fake and made up. And to try and somehow take people from reality and put them on this superficial platform and have them communicate with each other in ways that are not conducive to how they would actually communicate in reality, it just creates a whole plethora of problems and issues and just brings out the worst in humans. Chrissy Teigen deleted her Twitter account on Wednesday. And in a statement, she said that the platform no longer serves her positively and it has been more of a negative thing in her life. And she spoke about her mental health and how it actually was really impacting her personal, familial life. It is absolutely revolting that somebody's life, their actual life and their mental health is actually impacted by people merely expressing their grievances, which in fact have nothing to do with her, nothing to do with her personally. Yes, she definitely has a social role and a social responsibility, but that is not the same or should not be considered the same as what has happened. Because what has happened is in no way people critiquing not her specifically, but critiquing the entire lavish lifestyle of the wealthy, for instance. You don't need to put a name on it aside from the lavish lifestyle that is, I suppose, more so expected with being wealthy. You're expected to spend a lot of money. You're expected to have a big house if you have $75 million net worth, you know? That can be critiqued. But to actually target a particular individual person who in no way is representative of what the rich are, that is so shallow and so low. The rich and celebrities just can't get it right with this universe of people who are holier than thou and are more considerate, are apparently good people, are apparently considering people. And it's just really hilarious because it is so detached from the real world. People say that Chrissy Teigen is not in the real world, that she's entitled and that she is out of touch. Yet they say this on, as one Twitter user said, $1,000 iPhones, yeah, me too, which are made from raw materials and raw minerals that are mined most likely by children in Southeast Asia and in Central Africa. The amount of energy that this movement on Twitter, this sanctimonious mass movement on Twitter, dedicates to actually vilifying and calling out people who are apparently out of touch with the world, rather than spending that energy on actually engaging with the real issues and real problems of this world presented in the actual valid and credible media which actually inform you about what is going on beyond the modern Western world. They would actually figure out that they are out of touch with reality. I think this is the problem with a lot of this I don't really want to call it identity politics, but I can't help it, this identity political stance in which it is basically, because it is about identity, it is about yourself, and you're justified in being selfish, but then at the same time you justify your selfishness by giving it this sort of moral air, in that you claim to be on the side of the oppressed, on the side of those who are the 99%. And obviously it's not the 99%, because I mean there is a world out there beyond, the modern world's 99%. You claim to be on the side of the 99%, yet all you continually and excessively do is base it around making yourself feel better about yourself. It's all about self-validation. It's all about finding an understanding of this world that somehow makes life more bearable for you. But you sugarcoat it or you varnish it in sanctimony and in this political cause.
Hey guys, it's John and Chrissy in your typical home theater.
There is a need within this Twitter movement to portray itself as the relatables. They know, either personally or impersonally, the horrors of social inequality and the experiences of being underprivileged. This relatability comes out in tweets directed at those who this movement considers to be so exclusionary, so wealthy, famous, and self-imposed in their ignorance, that even when these millionaires humanize themselves, like make a video about them making popcorn, it is not taken seriously. Chrissy Teigen is an example in point. Following the onslaught of negative comments she received from this movement of the righteously indignant regarding the 13k bottle of booze that she bought, for instance, she responded openly. She said that she was trying to connect with her followers on a more casual and light level in order to help her go through the grieving process of suffering a miscarriage. In terms of relatability, hundreds of thousands of Twitter users, including those within this movement, can relate to and understand the sorrow and distress of a miscarriage. That would, however, mean putting a human face on someone that has to remain inhuman in order for the movement to generate its purpose and its meaning. The response to her miscarriage was bleak, to say the least. And that's the thing. The rich aren't allowed to be human. There's this misconception. I love how all these people critique this woman as somehow being like a tool of capitalism, and capitalism is so effed up, when they completely disregard her personhood and her being an actual human being because she has money, because she's got capital. She can't mourn her miscarriage. She can't write about how she's feeling. She can't say that she's having a bad day because she's got money. You know what? Rich people have feelings too. Rich people can feel like their life is crap too. They can, and they can express it on social media just like everybody else does, because they are just as shallow, as insignificant, as stupid, as selfish, as thoughtless as the rest of us are. We're not better. Like, seriously, just let people be. Let this poor woman just live her life and do what she's got to do. If you want to change the world, you're not going to do it on Twitter. You're not going to do it by chasing Chrissy Teigen off Twitter. You're not going to do it. If you want to change the world, if you want to address the complete exploitation, inequalities, and downright slaughter that capitalism is responsible for, go out and engage in the real world. Start a revolution. Actually do something. Don't sit on your freaking iPhone like me and think that you're somehow doing something, because you are not doing anything. You're not. you venting about how terrible capitalism is on Twitter is just bringing ad revenue to Twitter, and Twitter wouldn't exist in a society where there was no capitalism. So you know what? Just don't. Just shh.